Like most of us on this call, I believe in the Reserve project. I just wanted to say that first. And unlike many other crypto projects, Reserve has an actual use case, and that's amazing. But more importantly, the Reserve project is clearly looking to change people's lives. I think that's the best thing. People forget that often. Um, in the crypto space, I think most people are so focused on profit that they forget what the whole point of decentralization is.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyways, my question is, assuming everything goes perfectly, what does the reserve ecosystem look like to you? And I don't mean the relationship between RSR and RSV and arbitrage. I mean, what's your final vision for reserve? Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good question. Final vision. Well, the core idea at the very beginning of the project was actually very, very simple. We actually started off with the question of, could we create something that is, works like Bitcoin, but actually works as money? Where, Bitcoin, obviously, because of its volatile price, and you could argue because of some other properties it has, could be a gold replacement, but it couldn't really replace money. And the reason, the initial reason in my mind for why I thought it could be interesting to have something that worked like Bitcoin but functioned as money is because if you look at the long course of history, every few hundred years, the major dominant empire in the world falls apart and a new empire becomes dominant. And when that happens, the world reserve currency also, ceases to be the reserve currency and often falls quite a lot in value and is replaced by the currency for the next dominant empire. And it's always seemed a little weird to me. I've always wondered, well, could you have a single currency that isn't attached to any one state that is actually used as the world reserve currency that maintains a stable purchasing power, roughly speaking, over the course of time, even during those transitions from one empire to the next. And so if everything goes perfectly and we actually achieve the eventual full vision, that's what it would be. It would actually be a cryptocurrency that is backed by a super diverse basket of assets that is able to maintain a stable purchasing power irrespective of the US dollar or whatever else is the world reserve, or the most prominent, I should say, fiat currency at the time. And if that happens, maybe we would see the world actually switch away from depending on the fiat currency of the dominant empire, and instead it could depend on this single cryptocurrency. So, um, hold on. Um, so the idea there is, yeah, you could no longer have to contend with, sort of the crumbling of a currency every few hundred years. You would also have something that's more neutral, that's more politically neutral, used as that world reserve currency. And many of the problems that people talk about with fiat currency in the Bitcoin space, would be solved by this. So that is the long term eventual vision. And then, as you know, we decided to focus on parts of the world where fiat currency is suffering the most in order to get a foothold for the project, in order to start building out this whole platform for using the currency, and building out liquidity and building out the brand and the community. And so, I think of this as something that would happen over, in my mind, something like 3 decades. Like I imagine over the course of maybe 3 decades, and I'm just making that number up. That's not really like a well-reasoned number, but to me, it feels possible that over the course of something like 3 decades, we could actually bootstrap to the point of being, possibly the number one cryptocurrency. That would be the idea, and really providing a stable alternative to fiat money, that a lot of people would end up using. And the reason why I think about it on the something like 3-decade timescale is, it feels plausible to me that over the course of the next 3 decades, all of the things that are just initial fears about the US dollar could start to become more of a reality. And that's really what it would take to prompt people to start to switch more significantly away from the dollar and to start holding something else. And so if reserve is a really credible alternative and really is a true backup option, then we could see that migration start to happen. So that's sort of the long-term vision.